What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Gridiron Podcast. J Squared checking in with you guys. You got JT, you got Jake. Guys, week 3 coming at you very soon. Week 2 just passed. We took off last week because we had a bunch of personal shit come up and everything like that. Stuff we couldn't control. But let's call week 2 our bye week and everything like that. But Jake, what's up, man? How you doing? How you feeling, man?
After all those personal issues have been settled, I'm doing great. Continuing the grind at school, life's going well and football's continuing. Life is sort of finding its normalcy back and hopefully it's here to stay. So can't complain, dude.
Absolutely. And with everything going around in this sports world, old baseball coming up with their playoffs very soon, NBA getting near their finals, hockey's, I think, still going with their with playoffs still as well. But still, everything just coming full circle. And if you're an NFL fan, guys, you're happy. Your season's kicking off and everything, and no pun intended. And honestly, Jake, let's get to something that everybody loves. Let's get to the games. Let's get to the picks. Now, first episode, we kind of went a little bit overboard with the picks, did every single game. But first episode, a little bit of jitters getting out of the way. That's all right. But the 3 games that you guys will always get from us, no matter what week it is, it's the primetime game. So the Thursday night, Monday night, and Sunday night games. And this week, I think for the first time in a long time, I think the NFL scheduling committee actually got it right with the Sunday night, Monday night, and Thursday night game even.
Yeah, I can't really complain about it. And a lot of people may, object to that just because of last Thursday's game between the Bengals and Browns. They may say, "Well, what's so special about that?" I don't see a problem with it only because, those were 2 teams that were looking for their first win. And honestly, stick them in prime time. That not only influences their performance, but it also enhances the game time atmosphere as well. And I mean, honestly, I don't think anyone should be complaining about scheduling whatsoever, only because there was a chance that we may not have even had the football season. So I don't care. You could stick like this Thursday night coming, Jacksonville and Miami. You could stick them on Thursday night, and I would honestly be glued to it as if it were a Super Bowl 50 something. I don't know. But I think they got it right. I don't see many fallacies in this so far. And I hope that it continues to be proven that it was a beneficial thing for the season and the weeks ahead.
Absolutely. And touching on that Sunday night game, or on that Thursday night game, touching on that game, honestly, it like you said, it's a doozy. It's Jacksonville against Miami, and it's 2 teams that we thought would be 0-2 at the start, but Miami's been hanging around there with Buffalo and New England the past 2 weeks, and Jacksonville actually won their week 1 matchup, and they barely lost to Tennessee last week. So this matchup's actually going to be a lot better than a lot of people think. The line's at -3 in favor of Jacksonville, and the over-under is 48. And if you're an NFL Thursday night fan, usually the over-under at 48, usually it goes a little bit higher. So, but the unfortunate thing about this matchup is we do not get, as my ESPN is going off, but the unfortunate thing about it is that we don't get, and this is unfortunate, we don't get Minshew against Tua. We're most likely going to have Fitzpatrick against Minshew. Jake, what are your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, it is disappointing that we won't see Tua take on Uncle Rico, but I mean, this kind of does stand out to me because you mentioned that Miami is holding on there. Week 1 was a bit shaky for them, especially with New England. New England was trying to figure out their place with the whole loss of Brady and Gronk. But week 2 shocked me a little bit more because they only lost to the Bills Mafia by 3. And when you're led by Fitzception and not much of really a core around him, and the defense has been a little lackluster, I gotta give them more credit than they probably deserve. But the real credit lies with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Coming into the season, they not only cleared house essentially, but they also everyone pretty much made it a quote that they were tanking for a better draft pick and better players for the road ahead, building this young core. But they won week 1 somehow, and they only lost by 3 to Tennessee, who Tennessee's making them, they're trying to show them that they're a perennial playoff contender. I'm not too sure what exactly is going on down there in Jacksonville. I don't know if the whole COVID thing threw the whole state of Florida into a big frenzy where nothing makes sense anymore. But, I'm looking at this team. Minshew has a 75% completion percentage. Granted, not many yards to back it up. He averages almost 8 per pass, and he's only got 2 interceptions. And then you look at the rushing contest, and I think this is where it sticks out to me a little bit more. James Robinson, practically a no one, comes into the season. 32 carries, 164 rushing yards, and 1 touchdown. I know, 1 touchdown doesn't look too big, but it was last game that sort of stuck out to me. 20 fantasy points, really making himself known in the running column. Chris Thompson taking a bit of a back seat, and then Laviska Shenault has 47 yards on 7 carries. So they're mixing and matching and making all of these different moves on the team that and I'm going to be quite honest, they should not be this good. Okay. And I know you could say that this good is a bit of an overstatement, and you could say I'm overrating them right now, but come on. I think we all thought these guys were going to be last year's Bengals, but they somehow got a win in week 1. They were undefeated going into week 2. I don't understand with it. Whenever their best player on defense, I'm just looking at it right now, is either Trey Herndon or Miles Jack. Those are the most recognizable names. This is going to be a weird contest on Thursday night. I'm going to say that only because I have a funny feeling with these two teams and how poorly they should be. It's going to be, you say that the over-under is 48. I'm going to go with the under. I seriously think there is going to be a lack of scoring in this game. Not because of poor quarterback decisions or bonehead plays. I really think that for 1 week and 1 week only, we're going to see a stellar defensive performance. Can you tell I really don't know how this is happening because I keep laughing, but I think we're going to see a stellar defensive side from both teams only because A, it's a short week and they had limited time to practice, but fuck it. They're throwing narratives right out the window all season long. So this is going to be an interesting game. This could be, and I mark it down as Pat McAfee would say, hammer it down. Mark this. This is going to be one of my contenders for game of the year.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I 100% could see it being game of the year and everything like that. For me, honestly, it's the fact that Fitzmagic is starting, and it's not a bad thing. It's not a good thing, but at this point, it's week 3. You figured Tua would have been starting, but I get at the Harvard graduate he's performing out his ass. And honestly, for me, I got to go on the opposite end of the spectrum with you. I can see it being an under. But for whatever reason, both defenses just absolutely blow. Oh, and I'm with you. I'm laughing at this one too because I don't even know what to go with. Honestly, if I had to pick a team right now to go with, I'd say go Jacksonville simply because of the fact that Jacksonville has had fans in the stands. And it's rhyming by accident, but that's all right. This is going to be an interesting matchup to see, and I don't know. I think if Tua does come into a game, I think it's going to be this game, but it's going to be tough to tell. But moving on, we got the 2 other night games. We'll get to those in a little bit, but we're going to touch on a couple of Sunday matchups that we can actually, relate to and actually, say that are actually going to be good contests. And I want to start off with one of the first ones. Pittsburgh against Houston. Pittsburgh last week barely, and I mean barely skipping by losing or beating the Denver Broncos and Jeff Driscoll. Oh, and then Houston as well, honestly, blowing up last week and just getting demolished by Baltimore. So, Jake, I got to ask, does Pittsburgh take advantage of a depleted Texans, or does Houston bounce back?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, my internet cut out for a little bit. So, can you repeat the question?
No, all good. I pretty much said jumping into the Pittsburgh-Houston matchup. Let's go. Pittsburgh, we know last week, we both saw the game, could have easily lost to a backup quarterback in Jeff Driscoll and a depleted Denver Broncos team. But Houston got absolutely ran over last week in terms of facing Baltimore. So you got to ask, does the absence of DeAndre Hopkins, render its toe, or, does Houston actually pick it up and pick up a win against the Steelers in Heinz Field at Heinz Field against Pittsburgh?
See, here's my thing. The Texans, I think, still have a decent core. It's just they're led by an all-around dunce. I don't like Bill O'Brien. I think his management style is terrible. Going to your question about is the loss of D-Hop, effective for him? Yeah, obviously, I'd say so. They've definitely shown that they can get by. And again, they went up against the Ravens last week, and we all know the Ravens are one of the better teams in the NFL. But I really think if Bill O'Brien was out, I really think the Texans would have a better chance. I'm going to say I still have to go with the Steelers winning it, only because Ben has looked spectacular. Benny Snell has looked better as a running back. Juju Smith is finally getting his head out of the college frats and onto the on the football field for the season. And goddamn, that Steelers defense! Can we please just admire them for just a brief second? T.J. Watt, Bud Dupree. Him and TJ Watt are going to be our best two defensive men, with Minka coming in as a close third, without a doubt. Deshaun Watson has to be on his A+ game in order to come out with a win, but I think it's with Bill O'Brien's management style. I feel like, they could come close, but I feel like in late game scenarios, he's going to blow it. And I think that's going to hold true on Sunday.
Absolutely. And I'm going to get a bunch of rap for this one, but I don't think Bill O'Brien has what it takes anymore to go up against a team such as Pittsburgh or Kansas City or Baltimore. Obviously, last year he absolutely could have. He could have held his own against a Baltimore or Pittsburgh. But I think that this year, after everything that happened in the offseason, and honestly with his management style, I don't see it anymore. So, I mean, Pittsburgh, it's at home for Pittsburgh, and obviously no fans still, but when Pittsburgh plays at home, it's a different atmosphere. Whether there's fans or there's no fans, you just, in my opinion, you don't beat Pittsburgh at home. So I got to go with Pittsburgh on this one. Now, next game I got on tap for you is honestly one that I think once the season announced it, everyone was on the edge of their seats. And then Los Angeles absolutely blew themselves up and now is thinking it's going to be a blowout. I personally don't think this game is going to be a blowout. And folks, for the game that you think that I'm not talking about, it's Rams, Bills. Jake, this could easily have been the Thursday night matchup.
Yes, but I'm glad they saved it, honestly. This is one of those games that you want to wait and make sure you have time on Sunday to watch. Josh Allen is one of the top passers in the league right now. I think he was ranked 4th in passing yards in this week's update. And that was a big surprise to everyone. The Rams, they're a toss-up each game, I got to say. Let me see if I can pull up there. Because Jared Goff doesn't look terrible. He always starts off slow. And I think that's what's, the same thing's happening this season. Obviously, they started out 2-0, but they barely edged the Cowboys, who normally falter. And that took that game in, I think, to the later goings of the game. And then to me, I think the scoring margin against the Eagles wasn't big enough. But of course, with the loss of Todd Gurley in the offseason, that's gonna have, a big impact on them. Their defense still looks strong. The receiving core pretty much stayed the same. Tyler Higbee is splashed out. And Malcolm Brown, he really filled the shoes in the way. Him, Darrell Henderson, and Cam Akers. Unfortunately, Akers falling with an injury, but the running core has sort of picked up the slack, but I think they're just still coming together. I think we're going to see bigger margins here coming soon. As for this week against the Bills, I don't know. They're at Buffalo. Granted, the Bills Mafia is not going to be in attendance, but they're a tough team to play against. And with Josh Allen riding the hot streak he's going on, it's hard to bet against him. I'd say it's going to still be a close game. I don't see the bigger wins from Los Angeles coming until, week 4 against the Giants. And then after that with the Washington football team. But this week's going to be close. I'm still going to have to go give my bet to the Bills only because of how efficient Josh Allen is doing under center.
Yeah, you're not going to have an argument with me from there. I think, and this was my kind of like prediction / hot take at the beginning of the year. I pretty much said that Buffalo was going to win the AFC East. And honestly, it still remains true today. I really do think that Buffalo can win the division. And I think that beating a team such as the Rams, honestly, will boost their confidence even more. And you said it best. Josh Allen, probably one of the best passers in the NFL right now. And honestly, Buffalo, and this is weird to say, Buffalo's not doing anything wrong anymore. Or they actually found out their potential. They actually found out what they wanted to do. And it's unbelievable. They took a guy like Jared Goff, who was drafted first overall, or not Goff. Wow, I fucked up big time there. You look at the Bills and drafted Josh Allen 7th overall in the draft, and he actually is overperforming. This was a guy that Bills Mafia was pissed off that they drafted because they thought, oh, shit, here we go again. And really, Josh Allen has gone off, and I got to go with Bills Mafia on this one. Obviously, it's tough to pick with the Rams. You said it best. There's no easy way to look at it. Now, the next game I do want to touch on, both teams on a roll, and especially Las Vegas. It's Raiders-Patriots. It's going to be in New England. Raiders beating a top 10 team. Who the hell am I kidding? Top 3 team in the NFL. And beating New Orleans last week. Patriots going 2-0. This might be one of the bigger tests for New England, and with Cam Newton behind center. Obviously losing to Seattle last week, but not really losing by a lot. 35-30 was that final. And I got to say, if you're a Patriots fan, you're a little bit happy with what happened with Cam Newton and everything. And Raiders fans taking out a top 2 team, honestly, this is going to be interesting. Jake, I'll let you take the first swings at this one.
Okay, so here's my thing. I like that Cam Newton is finally coming around, and he's doing it on a very low contract too. So it's a win-win for both the Patriots and for Cam. But I don't know. I still have trouble believing that the Patriots are a full unit and they're ready to get back to the playoffs, especially losing as many people as they did in the offseason. Derek Carr has been a surprising factor this season. He's only missed 18 passes, 4 touchdowns to him. Josh Jacobs is back on the field doing well. Darren Waller's still an efficient wide receiver. But see, I really it's another one of those confusing games. I like the fact that the Raiders are 2-0, and they did beat the Saints, but then they also beat the anemic Panthers in week 1. So they haven't really had a good sample size to determine how good they are. Like, they've played a decent, a really good team, like you said, top 3 in the Saints, but then they go, week 1, they're at Carolina, who's not that, without Christian McCaffrey, they'd probably be the next failure in the league, but they only came out with a 4-point win on that. So it looks like on the road they have a tougher time this season based out of 2 games. And Foxborough is always a tricky place to play. It always has been, at least for what I noticed in my life. But with the way Cam's been playing, I have to give this one to the Patriots. I that pains me to say, but at least I'm not saying Brady's going to win it. But I think Cam Newton is finally starting to come out of his shell in New England. He's making a lot of good connections in the locker room. The atmosphere is great. Belichick seems to give him a little bit more confidence and a little bit more looks. So that's a good thing. So I'm going to go with Patriots only because it's in Foxborough, and with the way Cam's been playing, I have to go with the Patriots on this one. It's not going to be a big blowout, but it's going to be a close one.
Yeah, and the factor for me, and if people know me, they're going to know what this factor is for me right away. It's simple. It's John Gruden, and I cannot stand Gruden. I honestly think that he's being overpaid by the Raiders. And it's just a case of it's going to be for me, it's going to be John Gruden against Bill Belichick. And as much as it kills me to say this, Bill Belichick is a mastermind. And as much as I want to go absolutely jump off my balcony right now after saying that, he really is. I really think Bill is a fantastic coach. And it's just get him against someone like Vegas's defense, almost said Oakland there, but get him against someone like Vegas's defense going, and really without a Khalil Mack, I think this is going to be a team that really just finds its struggles and doesn't find really their opening point. So I got to go with Bill Belichick and the Patriots on this one. And honestly, I thought I thought Bill was gonna have a hard time adjusting with Cam Newton behind center, but obviously not. Now, speaking of the Patriots, the team they faced last week was a rematch from a couple Super Bowls ago. Oh, it was Seattle that they faced, and Seattle is going up against, honestly, a fan base that is absolutely, and this is the lightest way I can put this, is absolutely jizzing all over the fucking floor. Why? Because Dallas beat the Falcons in a game that they were not even supposed to. Now, if Atlanta didn't think that the ball had some sort of poison on it or something like that, I think that Dallas still would have lost. But nonetheless, Atlanta did something that we've heard before and blew a 20-point lead against the Cowboys. Jake, I'll let you go with this one. I don't even know how to put it for this matchup.
Oh boy, yeah. Dallas and Seattle. This one's going to be a little interesting. I don't even know what to say. Dallas came back, and we all know that the Falcons' specialty is the art of the choke, and they sure proved that again. But I don't see last week's win for Dallas as a true one. I really don't, because honestly, they were down a lot of the game, and Dak Prescott didn't look too strong. The Atlanta's defense was able to, neutralize and isolate Ezekiel Elliott throughout the majority parts of the game. But this week they got a bit of a tougher challenge. Yes, it's no Legion of Boom, but the Seahawks defense is still pretty good. And they need to come out firing on all cylinders, because you saw what happened against the Rams. They choked. They're not good at all, or they weren't good at all against them, and they ended up losing. They paid it dearly, and they almost lost to the Falcons. So if we're talking realistically, they should be 0-2 right now. And then you look over at the Seahawks, Chris Carson has been absolute decimation on the football field all season long. I don't know where he's coming from here, but he's just absolute, you can't stop him. And then Russell Wilson is still the field general that we know. He's already at 9 touchdowns on the season, so he likes to spread the ball out. And I think Dallas has a bit of a they have a bit of a tough time adjusting to a spread offense. And then the Dallas Cowboys, I'm looking at the injury report right now. DeMarcus Lawrence, who's one of their biggest, players on the D-line, he's questionable for the game. So if he's out, then that takes out one key player. So if I'm going to settle about who I'm picking for this game, I have to go with Seattle, only because they seem to be the most wholesome team that's still out there in this, in this 2-team matchup. And Dallas, they start out slow, and if they do it again, they're going to end up losing in the first quarter.
Yeah, and this one for me is, like you said, Dallas had no position losing or no position winning last week. I mean, how they won still, it still blows my mind. I mean, the fact that Atlanta couldn't pick up an onside kick is just that's Atlanta in a nutshell. But honestly, I think that a more rounded team like Seattle, and last year Dallas struggled against teams that were such as Seattle, where they couldn't even, where honestly it was just blowout after blowout after blowout. And really I don't see anything changing. And for me this week, honestly, and this is not my fantasy sleeper, but a guy to watch out if you have him on your fantasy team, DK Metcalf has been probably one of the most surprising aspects of this Seattle team. 8 receptions for 187 yards, or is averaging 23 yards per catch and 2 touchdowns. It's it's unbelievable how good this kid has been, and nobody's thought of him as late, and he's not been talked about. So I got to go with Seattle. And honestly, like I said, fantasy owners, take a look at DK Metcalf. He's going to do a lot more. But moving on to the main event, what everybody's been waiting for. Guys, Green Bay, New Orleans. Let's start off with the Battle of the GOATs. 2 of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. In my opinion, honestly, the 1 and 2 of the NFL. Really. Aaron Rodgers, Drew Brees, Jake, Sunday Night Football. They got this right. As opposed to Chris Collinsworth being on the mic, this is going to be a great matchup.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. This is going to be this could be a game of the year as well. We're being treated to a lot of good games early on, but my only problem here lies with Drew Brees. He I don't know. Aaron Rodgers has looked way better than he has in recent months. And I know I just switched two quarterbacks there, but I'm dead serious. Aaron Rodgers said he feels rejuvenated, like he's all of a sudden a new player on the field. And I think Drew Brees, they're 1-1. They lost to the Raiders and barely beat the Buccaneers. I don't know. I think Drew Brees is starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel, saying, "Okay, I think it's time to maybe hang up the cleats for a little bit." He's only thrown for 3 touchdowns. He's been sacked once. He's picked off once. QB rating under 100. I don't know. To me, the thing is here is when you have I forget what quarterback I mentioned earlier, but Drew Brees has a worse completion percentage than him. I think he's starting to see the light. And I think he also relies heavily too much on maybe passing to he does a lot of checkdowns. You notice that? He's patching to Alvin Kamara a lot, which is good for me because I have Kamara in a lot of my leagues. But like, you ever notice that he's not really spreading the ball out to Sanders or Thomas much? Thomas, yeah, he's only played 1 game, but he only got 5 targets in that game. So I think Breeze is starting to see it, saying, okay, maybe my time is almost here to retire. He's getting banged up on the field. I think his time's almost up. And with Rodgers playing the way he is, he's playing lights out offense. And he's really spreading the ball out a little bit more. Devontae Adams not really getting many looks. So you can see that Rodgers trusts the core around him. And it's all coming together for the Packers. They could be a potential playoff team. And a lot of people said this at the beginning of the year, like even before the season started. And I think that reigns true with the way Rodgers has been playing. He looks like a completely different man out there. He looks like a field general. He knows what he's doing, and he's back to take names. And I just don't see that from Breeze. So I'm going to go with the Packers winning in primetime here on Sunday night.
Honestly, I couldn't disagree with you more. I do think that the Packers are going to wind up taking this one. I think for me, the other thing, and this is going to be one that also kind of scratches everyone's head, this is a game that can also end up, and this is an option that we don't really see a lot. This could end in a tie, but honestly, pushing that over the limit and everything like that, honestly, I'm looking at the schedule ahead. Next week, New Orleans has Detroit and Green Bay has Atlanta. So really, it's going to be two heads buttoned together, and then the next week is just going to be, hey, handle some light work for me. Yeah, I got you. So, but Green Bay, I'm going to go with you guys because, honestly, Jake, you said it best. Green Bay's just all together. I think if Drew Brees finds himself, this is going to be one of the best showings that we get all year, but it's going to be tough. And then, honestly, if Michael Thomas plays this week, I think he can also do very well, but it's going to be tough. Now, we talk about game of the year, and Jake, you've said it all year or all podcasts, but really, this is the game that I think is going to be game of the year. The game that everybody wanted to see for the AFC Championship last year in Baltimore, ironically. This game is honestly going to change everybody's mind. Is it going to be what Kansas City and Los Angeles did a couple years ago? Maybe. Or last year it was. My fault. Maybe. But it's going to be a game that everybody enjoys. And the line, honestly, the line is at 3.5, but the over-under is 53. Chiefs, Ravens, Mahomes, Lamar Jackson. Jake, take it away, man.
So the over-under 58 points. I have to take the over only because of the way both teams have been playing. I think both have put up at least 30 points per game, and the Ravens have really taken a strong hold against their opponents. Granted, the first week was against the Browns, but next week is against the Texans. Lamar Jackson, still his MVP caliber self. The Madden curse, and I'm knocking on wood here, has not caught up to him just yet. Didn't catch up to Mahomes, and it's certainly not catching up to Lamar right now. And I think it only took, that first week for them to really get a good footing. And I have to go with the Ravens on this one. They're playing at home. Lamar Jackson's hot. Mark Ingram's starting to find the ball a little bit more. Pat Mahomes isn't quite doing much. I can't say he's not doing much, but he's not doing, he's not putting up Lamar Jackson numbers. And I think a lot of people saw them as like, the same sort of player. And with the lack of that happening with Pat Mahomes' side, I hate to say it because I really hate to go against them. And I also really despise the fact that I'm going with the Ravens. But when it comes down to, brass tacks, you gotta give credit where credit's due. And right now, Baltimore, they're a scary team. This AFC North division is scary if you take away Cleveland and Cincinnati. But with Baltimore playing the way they are, it would take a miracle for Kansas City to come back and beat them. So my guess is going with Baltimore on this one.
This is going to be my thought process. Honestly, this could be another potential playoff matchup that we see in week 3. And for me, it's going to be about Patrick Mahomes. If Patrick Mahomes wants to submit himself, I honestly think this is the game that he does it. In Baltimore, yes, no fans, but in Baltimore against the Ravens. Here's my other thing. And I'm going to get judged for this and everything, but I honestly think I think that Baltimore is depleted without ET3. And I know that's saying a lot, but this week, Pittsburgh's going to need some help from Kansas City, and I think they get it. I think that Pittsburgh gets it simply because of the fact that, for whatever reason, I'm just saying that Kansas City is just a better team offensively. And for whatever reason, whenever Patrick Mahomes gets put up against teams such as Baltimore, such as San Francisco last season, such as Los Angeles, the Rams, such as the Patriots, we can't really say that Patrick Mahomes has failed this season. And it's hard to go against him against a team such as Baltimore. And this honestly is going to be a fantastic matchup. Jake, I'm with you. I think whether the line was at 53 or 58, whatever I had said, go with the over. This game could easily wind up being in the 40s for both teams. Both offensively be capable of doing it. And just, honestly, if you love high-scoring games in terms of football, this game is for you. So that's going to wrap it up for games here, guys. Switching gears, fantasy football lovers, guys. If you love fantasy football, yeah, obviously you got your sleepers. You got your sleepers. You got your guys who honestly are projected to score 25 points for you, and then they only score like 6 for you. So, may or may not have happened to me last week, but, I'm not a little bit mad. I'm only a lot. But, but Jake, let's go ahead. Let's get some sleepers and some overperformers. Give me one and one. Who you got as a sleeper, and who do you have as an overperformer?
All right, so first, before I do that, I want to give credit to Alvin Kamara. Thank you so much for giving me 38 points in my money league because I was down at least 117 to 98 going into Monday night games. And I ended up winning by 1 point because of Kamara having a great game, so thank you to that. Sleeper performer, I have to go with I just had him in here. I apologize. Kill me now. It was a guy who I mentioned earlier in the podcast. Here it is. James Robinson, the running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's contributed to their I'd say overachieving performance. He had 10 points the first week. He was projected that he'd get around 10, but second week he blew up. He had 21 points as opposed to Yahoo's 10.96 projected fantasy points. And I think Minshew's going to rely on him a lot more. And I know Minshew's got some weapons in Eifert and Cole, but and Chark especially. But if Chark's listed as questionable this week, so if he is, keep James Robinson on your itinerary. I know there's only like a day notice, but I mean, he could be a formidable option, especially since they're going up against Miami, who is always more than likely going to screw up. And now an overperformer. Oh man, I forget. Okay, so overperformer, is it like an overrated person that you think is going to fail, or just
an overrated or a bust?
Okay, a bust. So, oh boy, this is going to be rough because there are so many people who I can consider busts these days. I'm going to give another bust to Todd Gurley, which sucks for me because I got him in my money league, but last week was a little underachieving. He had 6.1 points against Dallas defense, whereas before he played pretty well. He had a touchdown and 56 yards against the Seattle Seahawks. So, but he's going against the Chicago Bears defense. We know how tough those guys are. And I feel like with Gurley's lack of performance that last week, that hangover is going to carry over into this week. I don't see him doing much against Chicago's defense. Great if he does, but if we're picking a bust candidate, I have to go with Todd Gurley.
Wow. All right. So for me, my two are actually going to be two that are shocking. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to save my bust for a second, obviously. My guy to watch and my sleeper is going to go ahead, and this is no biasm at all. It's going to be Chase Claypool. Well, simply because of the fact that he's starting to come out. Yes, he mostly runs deep routes and everything like that, but Big Ben has the arm to get it to him in the spot that needs to be located, and he has the speed to burn out some of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. And honestly, for a second-round pick, he's not doing too bad. And Pittsburgh fans got to be a little bit happy with what they picked up in the second round. And and for me, it's simple. I think Chase Claypool, honestly, I think he finally finds his own with Pittsburgh. I think he gets forgotten about this week against the Houston Texans. And like I said, I think that Chase Claypool performs the way he's supposed to. Now, my bust for this week is going to be one that I think is going to piss off a lot of people. But I think because of the run defense and everything, and I think that how he's performed as of late, not the best if you're a Cowboys fan, and I think people might know where I'm going with this one. But I got to go with Zeke Elliott.
Oh, kill him. You're driving the spike right fucking through them.
I feel bad, but honestly, let's look at the numbers, though. 44 carry. He's 185 yards. That's 4.2 yards per game or per carry. Only 2 touchdowns on the season. If you're looking at Ezekiel Elliott, this is a guy that you're looking to franchise build around, whatever you want to call it. This is supposed to be your epicenter. All right? And I hate to say it. I really do. But really, it's tough to go for him. I think that Seattle's run defense is just too much, and I think Zeke underperforms this week. And call it the nail in the coffin, but honestly, I think that last week, with the small performance against Atlanta, and honestly, the small performance it's against Los Angeles, obviously 89 and 96 runs. Yeah, he had a touchdown and everything, but really, that's not Zeke numbers. So I got to go ahead and I got to go with Zeke going for a disappointment in fantasy this week.
That makes a lot of sense considering, I feel like this is a bit of an ironic situation because he got that tattoo of "Feed Me" on his gut, and now he's not really, to make a pun out of it, he's not feeding, really. He's taking little nibbles out of it instead of just, gorging himself. I can't say I disagree with you, but, oh, yeah, you're going to piss off a lot of people. But that's okay because that's what we like to do is piss off people. It's
Absolutely.
not politics. It's not politics, so we can respect each other afterward.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I'm going to go ahead, skip over a segment, which was going to be upsets for the week. But I think, honestly, this week, I don't think any game could be – I don't think any game can really just be an upset. I think this week has, honestly, most of the matchups are at 3.5, and really the only game that could potentially – the only 2 games that really could be upsets would probably be Cincinnati against Philadelphia and New York and San Francisco. But, honestly – jumping over that one, let's get into some hot takes real quick. Now, for those who don't know what hot takes are, both sides do this. Pretty much it's our take on something bold that could happen this season. And honestly, whether it's the offseason, preseason, this season, honestly, it's just our take on something bold that could happen. And who knows, I want to say like a good 61% of the time, weird number, but about 61% of the time, they usually fail, which usually means some other times they actually come true. So, but Jake, like you said, this isn't politics. This is football, for crying out loud. Oh, Jake, give me a hot take for this season. What do you got? Let me know.
All right, so here's the thing. This week, you got the matchup of Burrow versus Wentz. Hammer it down, Pat McAfee. Burrow and the Bengals, they're coming out on top. They're going to get the first win out of this winless matchup between them and the Birds. The Eagles are overrated. They're done. They are absolute garbage. I hate to say it, but they are. Carson Wentz, I have never once believed that he was, the be-all, end-all franchise quarterback in Philadelphia. So you heard it here. Mark it down. Cincinnati coming out on top against Philadelphia, getting their first win of the season. Joey Burrow, I'm going to say he posts over 400 passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Boyd, Green find themselves in the end zone. That's going to be my prediction for this week. And I heard you say season, so I'm going to say this. Right now, they're 0-2 to start off the season. But watch. They have a little bit of time on their hands. I'm going to say the Detroit Lions squeak in as a wild card team.
Jesus Christ. Wow. All right. Okay, that took me back a little bit. All right, I didn't expect that one.
Stafford, baby. Let's go.
Honestly, I like it. I like it because I think it's time that Stafford actually makes a playoff run and actually sees the playoffs, other than what he did see with that abysmal game with Dallas, God knows how many centuries ago. Honestly, for me, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to say it like this. I think that this week, if I got to pick up an upset and I got to pick a hot take for Sunday coming up, I'm going to say that the Jets upset the Colts. Now, why do I say that? I think that the Jets can actually find themselves playing well. Phillip Rivers is 2-3, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And there's just something in the back of my head that's saying that Jamison Crowder and Frank Gore just go off. I don't know what's telling me in the back of my head for that. I don't know what I've been drinking before the show. But I think that and the line is at 10.5 in favor of Indianapolis. So I'm going with the Jets to upset the Colts on this one. And then for the season, this one is honestly going to make a lot of people drop their plates of food, drop their beers. I'm not going to list the team. But this year, I think we get an undefeated season in the regular season. I don't know what team. If I had to make a prediction, I think it's whoever wins that at Baltimore-Kansas City game and gets an undefeated season. I'd love to see it be Kansas City, but you never know. So that's going to be my hot take. I think we get an undefeated season in the regular season. And what happens in the playoffs? Beyond my control.
That's very possible. I really think that we have enough teams that we could see one, maybe even if we're lucky enough, 2 undefeated tracks. Those are all good, man. That was good.
Absolutely. And pretty much just wrapping it up. Jake, you want to touch on anything else, man?
I'm praying I go 3-0 in all 3 of my leagues this week. I'm 2-0 in all of them. So comeback season, baby. Let's go.
I'm 1-1 in one league, and I lost because of a punter. So,
was that the league that you and I were talking about?
Yep. So you can only imagine how pissed off I was. And because Derrick Henry didn't really have a good game. So, but that's okay. Derrick Henry and the Titans are facing – who the hell do the Titans have this week? Oh, they're facing the Vikings. So it could be – Henry could go off. I don't know, man. But
who the fuck knows?
Who knows? Guys, it's week 3. This was the J Squared Gridiron Podcast. Guys, thank you for listening. Whatever platform you may be listening to this on, whatever we decide to upload it to, whether it's SoundCloud, YouTube, who knows? Even Facebook. Guys, hope you enjoyed listening. Guys, this is JT signing out with Jake. Guys, have a great rest of the day. Enjoy enjoy the NFL Sunday. Enjoy the Thursday night action. Tomorrow, you got the Jags and the Dolphins on Fox, 8:20 kickoff. Guys, take it easy. We will see you next week. Later.